Do you mind if we open it up to the floor to see if there are any questions?
That's a good idea.
Are there any particular questions that people would like to ask? I think people have been taken off guard a bit. Yeah?
Maybe I should first?
Yeah.
I would like to bring up this concept of common but differentiated responsibilities. The fact that 10 years ago, activists all around the world would say that multinationals, like indeed fossil fuel corporations, are a part of the problem, or in large part of the problem. Today, however, countries like China or India or other emerging countries are actually emitting more than Western countries, or most Western countries in Europe, for example. And my question would be, how do we deal with this shift, or what should we as activists focus on, really?
So let me to understand your question is about, is it about governments, or is it about the North-South?
Well, it's more about the shift in how activists should get across their message. In the past, we focused more on the multinationals, whereas my feeling is that right now, the biggest problem maybe could be with countries like China, who are just emitting more and more and more. And yeah. How should we?
I mean, I think that it's a meaningless and utterly meaningless distinction in terms of, I don't know about where you live, but in my country, we have a seamless merger between oil and state. It is impossible to know where the oil industry ends and where our government begins. But we do know, I mean, talking about the Koch brothers in the United States, that a billion when a single fossil fuel company, I mean the Koch Industries, can marshal more than political parties to finance elections. It's and in China, you do have a seamless integration between the state-run oil companies and government and private industry as well. And China's emissions exploded when it embraced a development model designed to produce goods for our multinationals, right? Because that was the cheapest way for them to produce. So we're up against a logic, we're up against a system. That's why my book is called, Capitalism versus the Climate. It is not just about the multinationals, it is not just about governments, it is about an economic system within which they both operate. And so I think that is why it's important to talk about systems and not only talk about government targets or corporate targets. We also need to talk about the UN and the corporate takeover of the UN, which is getting worse and worse with every COP. It was completely outrageous in New York in September. That Ban Ki-moon was bragging that they had more Fortune 500 CEOs than they had ever had at any gathering. I went to the session, and they had this thing called 1 minute to save the world. It was like a telethon for the Earth, and so one of the things that I think would be good if it happened is if the energy of the divestment movement, the fossil fuel divestment movement that is very strong and getting stronger on a lot of European campuses, focused its attention on the United Nations around the COP and demanded that the UN divest itself from polluter money. And I think that could be a really important call.
Thank you.
We've got one question over there.